Greetings, this is William White, Music Director of Harmonia Orchestra and Chorus, here to tell you about our 2022-2023 season called Dialogue. Now, in our context, dialogue means a number of different things. We are looking at dialogues between composers, how they interacted with and responded to each other's music, both in the same time span and over the course of centuries. We're talking about the dialogue between orchestra and chorus. That's an ongoing dialogue in our institution. And we're talking about the dialogue between the musicians on the stage and the audience in the house. That's perhaps the most important dialogue. But to tell you more about the season, I'm going to take you on a little tour of some places that have particular significance for the music that we are going to be presenting this season. I'll see you on the other side. Our first concert of the season is called Balance. And what better place to introduce it than beautiful Switzerland? It's not far away from here that the first two composers on our concert lived and worked together in the 1930s. I'm talking about Giancarlo Menotti and Samuel Barber, the two of whom met as students at the Curtis Institute of Music when they were teenagers and promptly fell in love and remained common law husbands basically for the rest of their lives. The two, of course, had a lot of dialogue, and of course that's the theme of our season. They worked on each other's pieces, they edited each other's pieces, they helped each other with the music, they wrote librettos for each other, and so we wanted to explore the musical relationship between these two composers. So we'll be starting with Giancarlo Menotti's overture to his opera Amelia al Ballo, and then we will follow it up with Samuel Barber's Violin Concerto, written right here in Switzerland and performed by Rachel Lee Priday, the great solo violinist who is also a professor of music, newly a professor of music at the University of Washington. The second half of the program features a brand new full-length oratorio by one of our great composer friends, Huntley Beyer. It's called World Out of Balance. And so, of course, this has to do with the dialogue between the challenges of life and some of the things that make life worth living. It's going to be an unmissable event, a great way to start our season, and we can't wait to see you there with us. Our second concert of the season is called Unfinished, and it refers to two unfinished works by great Viennese masters. Now, I'm not in Vienna, I am still high in the Alps, not so far away from a little town called Salzburg in Austria, the home of the Salzburg Miracle, aka the birth of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Of course, small-town life wasn't exactly what Mozart had in mind for himself. He went to seek his fame and fortune in Vienna, but as well as things worked out for him professionally there, personally or health-wise, things didn't really work out. He became very ill and died at the tremendously young age of 36, leaving unfinished his great Requiem Mass. Now, as a result of his stay in Vienna, Mozart went on to influence a generation of composers, especially the young Franz Schubert, who took up the dramatic mantle of Mozart's music. That mantle is very much represented in Schubert's Symphony in B minor, which we now know as the Unfinished, another work by a great Viennese master that did not reach completion before its composer's untimely young death. We are pairing these two works together on our Unfinished concert, and we hope that you will join us for it on Saturday, November 11th. Next up on the season, we have our annual performances of George Frederick Handel's beloved Messiah. Appropriately enough, I am in London right now, standing outside of the Foundling Museum, once known as the Foundling Hospital. When Handel wrote Messiah, he donated the proceeds of the first performance as a charity fundraiser to the Foundling Hospital, an institution that supported orphans on the streets of London. You might not realize this, but Messiah is arguably the first piece of what we would consider Western classical music. Prior to Messiah, people really didn't listen to old music, but Handel's music was so beloved by everybody who heard it that they just wanted to keep hearing it. So it never went out of fashion, it never went out of style, and never went out of repertoire performances. We at Harmonia, of course, give our own special zest and flair and traditions to this beloved masterpiece. It is a ball from beginning to end, and we very much hope to see you there. Our next concert of the season is called Concord and Discord, and I'm here at Seattle's own Roosevelt High School, sort of the locus classicus of Harmonia. This is where a young man, a teenager named George Shangro, corralled some of his friends, his fellow students, into becoming a performing ensemble, which is now known as Harmonia Orchestra and Chorus. All those years ago, George became friends with a young man named Bob Keckley, who is a composer of some renown, who has written music for the singers and instrumentalists of Harmonia over the course of many decades. And that goes on to this day. We are going to be premiering a new piece by Bob, a concerto for 2 harpsichords and a variety of ensembles called Challenging Perspectives. Now, in a season called Dialogue, I think it makes perfect sense why we would want to have this interplay between different groups all spread out throughout the hall. We'll also be presenting the world premiere, a second world premiere, of a piece called When Music Sounds by Sheila Bristow, one of our own musicians and our choral accompanist. Sheila's piece takes as its starting point the concept of music itself and what it gives us in our lives. So it's a little bit of music in dialogue with itself. And finally, we'll present Bach's great Magnificat for chorus and orchestra, one of the foundational pieces of the choral orchestral repertoire. And of course, Bach, sort of the patron saint of Harmonia and of those young students who got together so many years ago. So we hope that you will join us for Concord and Discord. Our next concert of the season is called Symphonic Legacies, and I am here in Shoreline, Washington at the Shorecrest Performing Arts Center. This is the site of one of our real triumphs that took place right before the pandemic. In February of 2020, we invited out the young composer-conductor Quinn Mason to premiere his piece, A Joyous Trilogy. It turns out that that concert was a real launch pad for that piece. It has been performed all over the world, from the UK to Italy to California to so many of the world's great stages. And Quinn's rise has just been meteoric. So we are very excited that he is going to be premiering a new piece with us, his 5th symphony called Harmonia. This time I'm going to be conducting that, but Quinn is going to be on hand to conduct a work by William Grant Still, his poem for orchestra. Now, when we talk about a season devoted to dialogue, that's definitely the case with this concert in particular, because we put together this program in dialogue with Quinn himself. I asked him what were some of the pieces and composers that he was influenced by and that he felt in conversation with. Well, there was William Grant Still's Poem for Orchestra, and then he recommended that we look at the music of Jean Sibelius. So we're going to be performing Jean Sibelius's 3rd Symphony on this program, an all-orchestra concert. And to round things out, and just to make the connections as perfectly clear as possible, we've also got another piece by William Grant Still called his Threnody in Memory of Jean Sibelius. We hope that you'll be there, here, back at the Shorecrest Performing Arts Center for Symphonic Legacies. The next concert on our season is called Choral Echoes, and in this concert we are going to be pairing works in dialogue with one another throughout the ages. This is a mostly choral concert, so we'll be getting to hear a lot of very interesting pieces that are for chamber choir or smaller vocal forces than we often hear at our Harmonia concerts with all the big orchestra and everything like that. I'm here in Bonn at the burial site of Robert and Clara Schumann. And what 2 composers could be more in dialogue than these 2, a married couple. In fact, the 2nd married couple that we will be featuring on our season after the music of Samuel Barber and Giancarlo Menotti. Now, of course, if there's one other composer who could equally be said to be in dialogue with these 2, it was Johannes Brahms. Johannes Brahms and Clara Schumann in particular spent many years corresponding with one another, meeting up very frequently. They were dear friends. They commented on, criticized, and helped to promote each other's work and each other's life as concertizing musicians. I think that it'll be very interesting to hear music of this pair and all of the other pairs that we are going to feature as we continue our season-long exploration of musical dialogue. So please join us at Choral Echoes. The final concert of our season is called Hope and Joy. I am here in the inner courtyard, the private garden of the Beethoven House in Bonn. the place where Beethoven was born and raised. And that's quite appropriate because on this concert we will be featuring the ninth, the Ode to Joy by the great master himself. You know, some people think that this piece has become a bit of routine. Nothing could be further from the truth as far as I'm concerned. It's simply indomitable, the spirit that it portrays and that it gives to all of us. The great Ode to Joy. There's nothing like it, and I don't think anything has ever quite superseded it in the 200 years since it's been written. We'll be pairing with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, a newly rediscovered work by the American composer Florence Price, her Song of Hope, and we'll begin the concert with Vast Array by Carlos Garcia, one of our great collaborative composers. Please join us for this final concert and the entire season. We look forward to seeing you then. Tschüss. So that's it, our 2022-2023 season, Dialogue. The tickets and subscriptions are now available at www.harmoniaseattle.org. We very much hope that you will join us this season, and we look forward to seeing you at the concert hall.